Outbreak transmissions.
And thank you for coming on the show today. We have Matt Connerton from IPM Nation and Local Outbreak, and Matt Connerton Unleashed. Thanks for coming on the show today.
Thanks for coming by, definitely.
Yeah, thank you guys for inviting me.
Yeah, no problem. So, I mean, as we've been telling most of the people, we're still pretty new to the process, and
Indeed.
for us, just getting together and having the conversation. About 30 minutes prior to this, we spent a time nesting. So we thank Matt for being so patient and
thank you so much, man.
sticking around for us.
No worries, like I said, I get it. I've been there.
Isn't it a blast? You know,
yeah.
I kind of love the.
It's all learning. You know?
It really is. You know.
Definitely.
So yeah, I mean. The big thing for us has been really just wanting to talk about real conversations, you know, and I see that a lot with you because obviously I follow a lot of stuff on Facebook. I'm kind of new to Twitter, and that's as of recently, but yeah. I really like the discussions, the real discussions that people aren't having online because of textual conversation. I mean, we were saying this briefly before. There's just not a lot that can be portrayed in the word format that we're all relying on, you know, integrating.
Right.
And it's just, it's nice to be able to have these conversations and go over what's really impacting people. I think, you know, and not in a way that like, oh, I'm right and this is, or somebody's interpreting it wrong. You know, I just feel like there's so much of that because it's mixed interpretation. It's just not enough real one-on-one conversations, and I think that's changing the face of this, even the political election. You know, it's really you know, impacting, I think, the way people look at media as a whole.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that's you know, you've been talking about something that bothers me about social media is it's very like with for me, like with Facebook, I don't post anything political on my personal page generally.
Same.
I post things to the Matt Connerton Unleashed page, but I try to keep my personal page kind of free of that because for one thing, if I post it to my the page for my show, because we do politics a lot on that show, I feel like I can just kind of post it and then not do anything else with it. And if people want to respond to it, they will.
Sure.
And comment and troll and whatever. But I put it out there. And then
the essence of the internet.
Yeah. And then I can kind of disown myself from it. But I stopped posting anything political on my personal page a long time ago because when you post something political on Facebook, or not even necessarily political, but anything that people feel strongly about, what happens is inevitably and sometimes almost immediately people begin hurling all kinds of personal insults,
accusations,
definitely.
It
just becomes a mess.
It's toxic.
It is,
it's like,
for sure.
And it's a really discouraging way to try to communicate.
Yeah,
it is. It is, and I think that's very.
Yeah, that's why.
Yeah, Justin's
I don't
very
get into it. No
me
way.
and him are so different in this aspect because I post stuff all the time that's inflammatory as shit.
But you know, you gotta be true too.
At the same time, though, I think that there's a lot to be said there because it drives a lot of wedges sometimes personally in between people and family members and stuff. And I try very hard to avoid those situations because I have family that is very on the right-wing political spectrum. Not that I'm super in contact with now, only because of life changes and family and kid and you know, a whole bunch of things. But you know, it just it's hard because those conversations now, you don't see them for years, and all of a sudden it's like on Facebook you've got their opinions flying at you, and it's like, nope, you're wrong and Trump is God. And I'm like, I am so sorry, but I completely disagree.
Right.
And it's tough because I'm libertarian, but also in a way I'm a little left leaning in that aspect. So like me and Brandon, you know, we're great friends. We don't always see eye to eye on a lot of those things. Yeah. So because, you know, of some of those things, I think that sometimes I come off, you know, a more matter of fact than I mean to, which I don't mean to, and it comes off that way, and I don't intend it to come off that way. It's really not. I'm really more like, I want to engage the conversation because I want to know more, and I have my opinions on, you know, Ayn Rand and objectivism and all those things too. But I think the big thing is you know, technology is changing a lot of the way we
Oh yeah.
view
yeah.
realism and
Definitely.
objective realism.
Wild.
I have a funny. I think I mentioned it to you before the show. I have just a funny little anecdote about Brandon Finney.
Mhm.
So Brandon has been on my show once, just briefly, because it's the only time I've actually met him in person. Because he was going to be appearing on a television show that airs on Channel 23, which is in the same building as my radio show.
Oh, sure.
Gotcha.
So he popped in on my show, and I want to have him on again for an extended. We just never connected, but to this day, I don't know if he has any idea of this, or if he ever heard it, or if any of it got back to him. But he was actually the subject of a running joke on my show for a long time before I ever met him.
Oh, wow.
Because,
No shit.
Because there was a story in the news. Do you guys remember this, where there was some controversy around him because he had come out as a Satanist?
Yes, yep.
And,
Vander was running on a Republican platform
Right.
when it was initially, because he's a libertarian, but
Yeah.
As most libertarians run on a Republican platform,
Right.
makes sense.
Oh, yeah.
Two-party duopoly, you can't
Yeah.
avoid it. But yeah, no, I did hear something about that.
Yeah.
Which I love it, because I love the whole Satanism thing.
Yeah.
I'm very, agnostic in a lot of things, but I think it's the whole standpoint is great.
It was it was a big story locally for,
I had no idea.
For a couple days at least. Yeah,
That's
briefly. But and I get it. He's a Levian and all that. He's, you know, they say it's not really about worshiping the devil or anything like that.
Right, not at all.
But smartass that I am, I took that story, because anything like that, I like to take it and run with it, turn it into a bit if I can.
Yep.
So I started claiming, and I hadn't met him yet. I started claiming on my show, and it became this running bit, that I had invited him to be a guest, but he wasn't coming on unless I met certain demands first. And he said that I had to, precisely 13 days prior to when he was going to be coming on, I had to sacrifice a goat in the studio.
Oh, he loves satire.
And,
This is awesome.
and drink some of the blood, and then push the carcass through the windows out onto Elm Street. And this just became a running joke on the show
that's
for
great.
a while. And to this day, I don't know if he heard it or if it ever got back to
That's
him.
awesome. If not, I'm gonna totally bring it up to him. I'll be like, dude, you got this is great, because he loves satire, so it's fantastic.
Yeah, my impression is if he does know about it, he probably thinks it's funny, because I never heard from
and
him
he's
that
very I mean, he's got a real rough and tough sense of humor too,
yeah.
so things roll off really easy, which is good, because I mean, me and him have always had up and down on the political thing, but for me, I mean, it's just that it's more ammo for me to have his side of, because I always argue the other end of the spectrum is what it is.
Yeah.
I end up arguing the other perspective that I don't necessarily agree with a lot of the times, just because I want that, that dialogue.
Yeah, well, it makes for a more stimulating discussion.
It does, and that's why I thought it was so funny with the whole thing with Ben Shapiro and what's a guy, very conservative.
From the BBC.
Yeah,
I forget his name now too.
Because they do things very differently over there than they do here, and it's much more objective, focused journalism, which I think is less, dog and pony show. You know what I mean? Which I think is significantly better.
Yeah.
And I mean, I actually kind of like Ben Shapiro in the aspect that I don't agree with a ton of things he says, and there's some things that I do agree with, not a ton, but I like his ability to argue them very effectively and usually pretty civilly. That was a terrible circumstance and a terrible example of that, because he just like tantrum situation. Like I'm like, I couldn't believe that, because here's this guy who is pretty staunch conservative, that is he's like, you have no idea, man.
Oh yeah.
I thought that was wild.
I lost some respect for Ben Shapiro when I saw that, because I felt about him, and I guess I basically still do the same way as you.
Yeah. Even
though I don't agree with him on a lot of things, I've always respected him because he does argue pretty civilly, and
yeah,
he's
for sure,
smart, and he's articulate, and he's a never Trumper. Well, sort of.
Yeah.
Sort of a never Trumper, which is, it's when I see conservatives who are willing to, question daddy, I'm pleased, because there aren't that many of them.
Like this Justin Amash character guy there. He was pretty interesting. I didn't know he was libertarian, and I dug in a little bit more. I mean, there's a lot of things that we don't necessarily see eye to eye on, but I thought it was great that he's sticking to, what he believes in as a core value in his principles.
His political career is over.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, he.
Well, not as a libertarian.
Yeah, I mean.
Go third party,
and-
but yeah, no, I get it. It's tough. It's a tough. I mean, that's why I have so much respect for Brandon in that aspect. That it's a tough ring. Politics in general.
Yeah.
But to be in one of the less noted and, in my opinion, more respectable, because it's more focused on the establishment politics, which I think that really both sides of the political spectrum are leaning towards, and that's why for me that I really identify a lot with a middle ground. But it's more so just. Grew up in New Hampshire. I mean, that's pretty much it.
Well, there is that. Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I'm an independent. I was a Democrat up until I'm in my 40s, and I was a Democrat up until about 05, 06, and I was like, I just can't anymore. So then I became an independent, and and then a lot of my Republican friends would say to me, "Well, Matt, if you're so fed up with the Democrats, why don't you come be a Republican?" And I would be like, No,
that's not going to work for me either. I kind of
guys...
have to be on the pro-choice side of the things, and they're usually staunchly pro-life, and it's just a real hard no-go for me.
And a lot of them really seem clinically insane.
Sometimes, it's that like hard right. I'm not going to see logic and science thing that bothers me.
And that sucks.
I'm all for the, right. And I think that...
Total crap.
Yeah, it's total crap. Because, Justin agrees with me. Like, we have a close friend who's a Trump supporter, but I think for a lot of times it's just... because the anti... a couple of them are just, it's the fuck you to the establishment. And I get that. But that's why I'm a much more... leaning towards Yang even though somebody running on the blue ticket, I just like the discussion about the robots thing. That's a big thing for me. I think that's huge. The automation has killed my career completely. It is appliances is gone. People aren't going to be buying appliances unless they're buying high-end appliances, and they are going to be going to local mom and pop stores or PC Richards or anybody that's hanging on through the robot job apocalypse. Calling it the robot job apocalypse. That's all I can think of. Because malls are decimated. Factory jobs are decimated. Even your radiologist jobs will be gone. They have computers that can see gray matter better.
I was reading about that just recently.
It's wild. So it's just tooth and nail. Every little monotonous job that can be done as systematic work is eliminated. That includes most prep work and even regular line cook work. Given a long enough time. Line cook's tough because it's much more. I mean, I did cooking for a long time before me too.
Yeah.
Self-checkout Sue.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Bingo. Yeah, he works in the customer service side of things, and self-checkout is dominating that whole thing too. It's going to do the same thing for the Walmarts out there,
Yeah. I love self-checkout because sometimes I'll go to Hannaford.
Me too.
I'll go to Hannaford to get a salad.
Yep.
And
fuck people, man. No, I'm just kidding.
Seriously.
I really like when I put my salad on the scale. I hold on to it very tightly.
Yeah.
Because I don't want anything to happen to it. I don't want a gust of wind to take it away. So I hold on to it, and for some reason it ends up being cheaper. Just something about the way that I hold the salad on the scale. It ends up being cheaper. I don't know if it's like a discount for people who are very careful with their salad or what.
I think that it is, and I think that I am now going to be extra careful with my salad moving forward.
Yeah, you got to be careful with your salad.
Gotta be easy.
What if it's a windy day and the door opens to Hannaford while you're standing, and then you got salad all over the place because a big gust of wind blows your salad away?
You should be extra careful.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have time to be picking up salad off the floor. I got things to do,
Yeah, nor should anybody be picking up no damn salad.
No,
that's
you
good.
gotta be careful with your salad to begin with, and you won't have that.
And you want to be careful around those robots.
Yes.
You're real grabby with salad, kind of like the president does around anybody who looks like his daughter.
That's
Sorry, I had to.
Although I can't picture Trump grabbing a salad. That's for
Oh, man.
that guy.
Oh, me.
Apparently eats fast food all the time, and he doesn't have colon cancer.
And he definitely doesn't like his Diet Coke and 24 cans a day.
Yeah.
Holy good God, does he have migraines all day? That's what I'm wondering.
He does have great genetics. To be 72 and get away with that diet and not die.
Yeah.
Like,
For
he's
real.
not dead.
He's not
pretty
dead yet.
good.
Yeah.
He
And
should
he's done
be
that for a
dead.
long time, from what I understand.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. Like the what he insists on feeding athletes when they come to the White House. That's what he eats every day.
Yeah, I know. That's
He's like, what did I do wrong? I fed
and
you.
that's why I think this is where I guess I am much more understanding in the aspect of it. Sometimes I'm just kind of like, well,
You know,
I don't think he means to do some things, and it just comes out real bad, like the whole Mars moon thing. The internet is literally erupted over. I'm like, sweet Jesus, could he have not stuck his foot any farther down his own throat?
oh my good Lord.
But I think what he meant was he was on, it's a stepping stone to Mars. I'm like, yeah, I get that, but you are the literal president of the United States. Not that he's ever going to listen to this podcast. You have to articulate things better than that. You do.
Yeah.
Shit I did for a Samsung job, you do for the president of the United States, for the love of God.
He is the most shockingly inarticulate president like ever in history. Like he makes
Oranges.
He makes Sarah Palin sound like a Rhodes Scholar. You know? And Sarah Palin, she's like a Hooters waitress with learning disabilities. And yet Trump makes her sound intelligent. It's remarkable.
And she, which was shocking because she is really just not the most
She's
there.
bad.
But I think his thing is his brain is just on overload because of the amount of either amphetamines, if that's true, I don't know, or the whole, just too much saccharin. Who knows, man? And I think the stress is probably going to, see what it has done to every established politician in the past. He's not. So he hasn't prepared himself for honed life in office.
Yeah.
So what's 4 years going to do this guy? You know what I mean? Is just that and the fast food diet. It's going to be crushing. It is for my ankles, I'll tell you.
Limitless pill. He's getting that limitless
I had
pill.
a drum. Yeah. Limitless pill.
It's called benzos.
Yeah, no. It's called a steady mix of benzodiazepines and methylphenidate.
And carrots.
Poor guy.
I don't think he ever meant to win. I don't believe he ever
No,
wanted to
I
be
genuinely
president.
believe the that lawyer guy who's probably lying about everything there too, the Cohen guy. I genuinely believe that he just didn't plan on that. He was expecting to build his brand and get knocked out early, and people just fed in exactly what he was saying. He thought he was going to bolster himself right off that stage early on, and it just caught fire. And he was like, "Well, let's ride the lightning." And I'm just like, that was me. I'd be like, no, I'm a fraud, guys. Hey, I've been joking the whole time. It was a character thing, whatever. I want out because I wouldn't want that responsibility. Not in a million years.
Right.
That's why it's like, go Yang. And I do support him in the aspect that just a short amount of time, he's captured my interest in the aspect of his politics, but more so as a family person. He has, I don't think he really necessarily wants to do it, but he feels like he has to do it because he has 2 kids and a wife, and the world is in a steady nosedive. And that's the feeling that I got from him. He's like, look, man, I don't even, I get the feeling that he, doesn't necessarily work well with identity politics or any of those things, and that he just, is just doing this because he feels like a desperation that he's concerned, which honestly is one of the better reasons for somebody to run to that position, right? They have a calling. They want to change things for the better. They have everybody's best interests in mind. He's concerned about truckers, white, people who are on the white nationalist spectrum that he's obviously disavowed. I get that, but they also see something in him. There's all this galvanization behind this guy who sees a future. So I feel like there's a lot of ramping up, at least in the internet aspect, which gives it a good window of what could happen. So I mean, for me as a libertarian, I don't identify with all of his politics, but it's hard to find somebody that you do with everyone, everything,
And you mentioned Ben Shapiro earlier. I watched Ben Shapiro interviewing Andrew Yang. And did you watch that?
I did. And
I've seen a little bit of
very
that. I've seen like half
impressed.
of that.
Yeah, and Yang actually
That's
seemed
where he
to
had
kinda
me.
win Shapiro over.
Yeah,
on universal basic income.
And Tucker Carlson and like every Republican trucker I've seen, that's like pro-Trump. Yeah, he's
Very
really doing
interesting to
well
watch.
in that category.
Yeah.
Which is good because he's not what's the word? He's not talking down to him.
Right.
He's not condescending to them. They don't
Yeah,
want
it's
to
a very
condescend
even.
to. And I don't blame them.
Yeah.
Like it makes
They
sense.
were at each
We're all
other's
people.
throats, which is. I thought it was gonna be like, meh, but nope, not at all.
These
It was
people who
pretty-
voted for Trump are best friends and brothers and sisters and family members. They're not some, person who's at war with us from another country, like he's claiming all of these illegal immigrants to be.
Right.
Like, they are our people that care about the same things and are concerned with the country.
Right.
They may be concerned about the wrong things because they don't understand automation. They don't understand these other things, whatever it may be. Or maybe I'm wrong. I got to accept that. I think the most important thing that we can do is accept that we might be wrong, all of us, and try to look from the other perspective.
Yeah.
There's just not enough of that going on, and I'm guilty of it. I try.
We all are to a degree.
Not Justin though; he does a solid job at it. No, I'm not bullshitting. He actually does a pretty good job at like listening to what other people says and empathizing with that.
Yeah,
and that's something I admire.
Yeah.
If it's something that I don't know about, then I'm not gonna. Hey, I know this. It's like back to like the Facebook thing, and I just can't.
But
put
that's
stuff
I
out
think
there
a
that I'm not
genuine.
gonna-
Well, that's why I pointed it out, is that you have the ability to kind of really separate those things. And I've seen so many times where like, he's a friend in the group and me and somebody else getting a politically heated environment conversation, and he just kind of smooths right in and he smooths it all out because he's just got that, kind of.
I dropped this, actually, the picture of this guy.
Oh, dude, this guy, that's it. It's everywhere on the internet now because of him. So explain.
Okay, so
for all the listeners out there that
Small
don't
Wonder.
know.
Do you remember that show Small Wonder?
I do,
Vicky the
yeah.
Robot.
Yeah.
This is the dad.
Okay, I was gonna say he looks familiar, but I
Yeah.
couldn't quite place him.
This is a screenshot I took on YouTube just of an episode. I'm just like this because me and Devin just make stupid memes. And just weird.
very
It doesn't
weird.
even make sense, but it's great. It's funny. And
Yeah.
so I took
Full of
this
nonsense. I love
screenshot
it.
and it just like I had to make it into a hoodie. I'm like, this is
Wow,
great.
that's awesome.
And it works for everything. Like, happy birthday. Sorry about your divorce. Like there's a whole,
Happy
somebody
birthday! Sorry about your divorce.
somebody's saying something
Oh,
shitty
my
about
fuck.
like I don't agree with you, and you're just like,
Yeah, he's like,
Just
he's
like,
there.
no.
He just breaks up the tension,
And it does
like
work.
cannabis.
Like I'm thinking
Yes.
about something upsetting, and I'm looking at that picture, and I'm feeling better.
Right, it does.
Yeah.
And I think
he's
that
watching over.
He's
gonna-
watching. But it's also that like if somebody like calls out of work that day and you just like drop it into their comment box, like he's watching. He's like,
Yep.
"Were you really out today?"
Exactly.
Like that's that like look he has. He's like,
Yeah.
"I don't know." So I always feel creeped out by him. So
Oh, yeah.
cannabis. We need to discuss cannabis because this is a direction that the state is going in, obviously, and it should be because we're surrounded. And I think I've discussed this most of the podcasts we've had so far, but this is a really important topic to me. Being a therapeutic cannabis patient, but also somebody who's struggled with pain management and whatnot, and I absolutely despise opioids. I still am kind of in this battle where I feel like I need to take them once in a while. I really hate them
Really.
with a passion. I really do. They're not. I don't get any satisfaction out of them like some people do. I guess people that struggle with addiction a little bit more. It's something that's for me. It's just this. I hate the feeling. I hate that like the out of control, irritable feeling.
Yeah.
Not my thing.
Yeah.
So cannabis, at the same time, for me, and this is more so from a CBD standpoint. I think CBD is going to be the miracle cure, anti-inflammatory of this generation. We're going to find a whole bunch of interesting stuff out about cannabinoids as the science starts to become just legal.
Right. Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's right. Isn't that just completely fucked? Can we just address how fucking confusing that is for, really scientists and medical professionals too, or people across the world who are looking at cannabis as like the least impactful drug, the least harmful drug in comparison to alcohol or heroin.
Oh, of course, yeah. I mean, I'm for, I oppose the war on drugs. It's something I speak very passionately about on my show. Not just cannabis. I'd like to do something like what Portugal did. And of course they didn't just go full legal on everything. People misunderstand that, but they did. I think they went full legal on cannabis, and they at least decriminalized everything else.
Yeah.
If I have it sort of right.
Which is a smart idea.
Yeah.
I think that's the direction that everybody should be going in.
Absolutely.
Personal
Definitely.
choice is an important thing
Absolutely.
for life.
And they saw drug use go down in Portugal.
yeah.
And also too, when you legalize things, you see less drug-related violence, obviously, because you don't have this underground black market. So you don't have drug dealers shooting each other in the street. So,
Just the hugest problem that I think that is people aren't looking at. They're like looking at all this crime and negative. It's like, yeah, no, that's caused by it being illegal.
Right.
Just like prohibition in
exactly.
the 1900s and with alcohol. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we'll get. Well, I think we'll get
It's like,
to.
well, a little bit slower than some of the other guys.
Yeah. I think we'll at least get to cannabis being legal, fully legal, federally eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know about the war
see
on
that.
drugs ever ending because a lot of people make money.
Yeah, there's too much money being made.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, way too much money.
Yeah.
And I mean, really, if you think about it from a pharmaceutical standpoint too, they're just battling themselves.
Oh, sure.
Right. So I mean, that's the insane thing here.
Yeah.
It's just this never-ending real, and it's like the war on poverty. You can't put a war on something insubstantial. Put a war on another country, and then not really look at Vietnam. But you know, it never really works out for anyone. Everyone just dies and suffers, and it's awful, and we're never going to learn. But the point I think that I'm making is that when you put a war on something unsubstantial or grounded like drugs, like a war on things that you can't really.
It sells though.
Yeah,
and that's the
that's
frustrating
it.
thing. It sells. Like
Taglines.
I've always said, if Trump or somebody from the government came out one day and said, we think termites are a real issue and it's time for the federal government to do something about termites, and everybody would kind of be like, what, termites? Why does the government care about termites all of a sudden? But then if somebody said, no, this is so serious, we're going to have a war on termites. And all of a sudden, all these people would be going, a war on termites. All right, USA.
Is there a T-shirt I can buy?
Yeah, war on termites.
Is there a T-shirt that I can get? That's it. That's it, though. As soon as it's branded and it's marketed, it's like, boom. Put it in a fucking lunchbox, ladies and gentlemen. We've got something you can put on CNN for everybody to enjoy.
Yes.
And Americans love war.
Oh, they do. It is a great economic stimulus. If time has taught us anything, it's that, it wasn't just social programs from FDR that boosted the economy back. A little bit of war to tie in there, too, You can't just have socialism adding good things. That's not a good... Socialism.
War's our greatest export.
Yeah, it certainly is.
Yeah.
Oh, man. That, Hollywood movies.
Yes.
Hollywood
movies about war.
With other countries that hate us. It's about them dying, and they're just like, yeah. Right. The fuck, man? It's so warped. Yeah. And they gotta, the rest of the world hates us with good reason in a lot of aspects. I can understand. And I hate us too, so don't kill me. No, I don't. I love the idea of America.
Yes.
My problem is the execution, if that makes any sense. We've just really, I feel like founding forefathers really would be like kind of like, what was that Rogan skit? That's who it was. I'm pretty sure it was Rogan, where he's like, he's saying, you didn't do anything else? You didn't update this shit? Just, what the fuck? You guys had hundreds of years. What the hell were you doing this whole time? You didn't update it? The shit. Which makes sense because obviously it's a living, breathing document. That was the very, very precipice of the whole thing, and I think that's what he was getting at. It's like, you guys are kind of supposed to interpret and adapt, and as society grows also, but we held it so close and sacred, and this is just my theory, that because of that, we're so careful on what we change, unless it involves slavery, and then we're just willy-nilly. Because look at for-profit prisons. That's we abolished slavery, but obviously not. And that's just a personal opinion. I think that the prison system is incredibly racist, and we never really did abolish slavery, in my opinion, in a really kind of fucked up way. I think that it's wrong, and for-profit prisons are literally destroying the fabric of the entire country.
Well, I agree with you. And that ties into the war on drugs, too.
Yeah.
Because, if you're not white and you get caught with something you're not supposed to have, you're a lot more likely to end up in prison.
That's absolutely right. And I mean, this is coming from somebody, I admittedly sheltered in this aspect. I lived in New Hampshire my whole life. Other than 4 months, I lived in Florida, which was interesting. I moved right back.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no, I couldn't deal with the racism and the bugs, man, and the heat. Yeah. I'm fat. Yep. is a bad combo. It's like, I'm living where the air hurts my face, and it's okay to open doors for people who aren't white and not get yelled at by a racist.
Oh,
Wow,
no.
for real?
For real.
Wow.
That was the thing that, like, I was going to go at him, because I go from 0 to 10 when it's things like that.
Yeah.
Very polite, and, you know, but
You're
the
like,
guy's,
"What
like,
the
said something real rotten to me about a real expletive, and I was just, this was, geez, when I was 19 years old, and I'm like, you know, fuck that guy. I'm like, to my dad, I'm like, that guy's a piece of shit. He's lucky. And I'm like, no, dude, did you see that giant rebel flag in the back? And like, that dude wasn't fucking around. Like, big truck, guns in his window. He's like, don't fuck around with those guys down here. You're not from here. You don't know what you're doing. I'm like, no, you're probably right. Probably. And then shortly after that, I was like, no, Florida's not for me, man. I woke up one morning, went to put my feet in my jeans, and there was a giant brown recluse in the jeans. And I'm
There
like,
we go.
out. Dude, it was
Back
that
to
weekend. I was back to
spiders.
friggin' New Hampshire. I can.
No kidding.
Yeah, I like cold, and you know, it's nice to visit, but it's not a long term thing for this New Hampshireite or whatever the hell I am. Yep, I do like New Hampshire quite a bit, and it's just the location. You're an hour from everything: the mountains, the beach, the city.
Yeah, absolutely.
What else could you really want, man?
We don't have too much extreme weather, you know. We don't have
Other than the
Arctic-
winters, but it's
Well,
not.
But even in the winter, we don't have the Arctic blast or polar vortex, whatever
Yeah,
you want to call
yeah.
it. That's more of a Midwest.
Climate change is like, hold my beer.
Yeah.
So you just give it a minute.
Climate
But
change.
yeah, I know, right? You mean,
Well, what do you believe in science or something?
but I know, unbelievable. And this is such a wild thing that I think is just, it's the sensationalism thing that's really taken over the whole approach has been, you know, let's just abandon science because somebody sounded somewhat articulate on YouTube about flat Earth, and they trolled somebody, but everybody took it serious.
I got sucked into that for like 10 minutes tops.
The
I'm like,
flat Earth.
yeah,
She's
I'm
like,
like,
oh,
nope.
I want to hear what they have to say, but then no, that's complete fucking illogical bullshit. Nope, goes right out the window.
They're everywhere, the flat Earth. Like, the first time I heard of this, actually, it was Obama making a kind of a joke.
Oh, really?
About, he was giving a speech about climate change.
No
And the
shit.
importance of doing something, and he said something like, we don't have time to be arguing with the Flat Earth Society.
Yeah,
And that was the first time I'd heard of it, and I thought it was a joke.
right.
And I didn't realize,
Well,
no,
This is an
they're
actual
everywhere.
And that's like a direction that it's a direct shot of the people that are like denying climate change, because
Right.
it's as logical as illogical as
Right.
And that's wild, because they are everywhere.
Yeah.
There are really a lot of people that believe this,
Oh, yeah.
and it's caught even more fire in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
And you can blame YouTube. That's all I'm saying.
And you know what? They're smug about it. Have you noticed this about the Flat Earthers?
Yes, I
They
have.
act like they know something.
That you don't, right?
Yeah.
They act as if the whole world's been so cooperative in the past that all the countries everywhere could cooperate in some mass conspiracy. It's like, fuck you, they could. They can't stop arguing about oil and fucking ethereal sky daddies that don't exist. And you think that they could, you know, all come together and make up some ice wall that's bordering
Ice
a disc
walls.
when the
Yeah.
rest of it, no, I'm sorry.
Ice walls.
Fucking, I call
That'll do.
hoss shit, as some buddy's uncle in Maine would probably say, hosspucky.
Yeah.
Hoss shit Mondays.
Hoss
Mondays. Fuck that, dude. I'm just so... It's
Yeah.
mind blowing how people are like, yeah, oh yeah, that's complete... the guy on YouTube said it, and everything I learned in school is complete horse shit, even though it makes logic, and they can give you actual mathematics to work it out in your brain. If you can actually do the goddamn math and carry the fucking zero... carry the zero. I'm gonna get a T-shirt that says "Carry the Zero."
There you
the
go.
little thing,
Yes.
you know. Fuck. Ignorance is my big thing. It's not ignorance, actually. That's not fair.
Well,
I'm okay with ignorance. I'm not okay with willful ignorance.
Right.
It's the inability to want to learn things that pisses me the fuck off.
Right.
Mm.
Well, the thing about the flat Earth thing too is, like, I have a good friend who tried to convince me once, and he starts throwing all this information at me. He's talking about, well, Matt, what about the circumference of this? And I'm terrible at math and science. Like, those are not, but I'm good at things like history and reading. And
Yeah,
math
same.
and science I'm terrible at. So I finally just had to tell him, I was like, dude, you're never going to convince me, because even if you're right, I can't comprehend anything that you're saying to me. you're throwing all this math at me. I don't know what these numbers mean. So
Right. So until I figure out that whole equation thing,
yeah.
I can only go off of what you're saying.
Right, yeah. So I told him, I was like, you're never going to convince me because I don't know what you're talking about. So I'm just going to go on thinking the earth is round.
Right.
Yeah.
And if I'm wrong, well, fuck me. What, you know, but
that's
I'm
what I thought
comfortable
too.
with it.
I saw.
So you had somebody that claimed a mathematical, some sort of like, if you do the math and you can, the horizon just, fucks me up the ass just right. I've seen this before, and I'm always like, really? Because I don't think that that's how that works. But I've always been compelled by that, because if somebody has math is the best thing. If somebody's like, they're like, nope, because I've got a math equation. I'm like, whoa, bring it, because I might not know, but I'll find somebody who does, and they can go, yep, or nope, and then they can go, hey Scott, yep, nope, and then they can go, hey Larry, Scott, David, asshole down the street. Everybody can come over here and verify, because that is how science works. Right. Peer review and all that jazz. Speaking of jazz, we're going to take a quick commercial break. We're going to be right back, folks.
Yes, indeed.
As a lifelong fan of Stephen King and The Dark Tower, I want to tell you about Connerton19.net. Connerton19 isn't just t-shirts with some cliche Pennywise screen print. This stuff is made with the aspiration to create not only great apparel inspired by Stephen King and The Dark Tower, but also a lifestyle brand and sense of community. Connerton19 is the go-to shop for die-hard constant readers of Stephen King, but also a great gift for that bibliophile in the family. These guys always deliver the very best quality products, and you can't beat these prices and with these styles and designs. If you go on, use the coupon code Abstract Transmissions and you'll receive 15% off your next full order. Again, that's Connerton19.net. Thanks again. And we are back. So, we were just kind of discussing briefly for those who weren't on the, on the wall, listening from outside the windows. We had a discussion about, except for that guy. Get out of the window. We were discussing.
You can't use my snowblower. It's not even summer. Winter.
He's
fall.
Justin shouting at the neighbor, and the neighbor doesn't even know what he's saying. Justin doesn't even know the neighbor's there.
Didn't even make any sense. So
the neighbor doesn't even know he's there, and he's talking to him. The neighbor's like, "I'm just doing my lunch. I know it's late, but you can leave me alone."
Can I just make my lunch in peace?
But yeah, well, you can't. Fuck that. So you know what? I forgot what we were talking about. That's why we're doing this. That's why it's called Abstract Transmissions, ladies and gentlemen. We don't have any linear focus here. It's a fucking free-for-all. Thanks for tuning in. We were talking about... What was it? What was it there? It's good. It was a good conversation.
Flat Earth?
Break or just now?
What's it?
Yeah, no, it was like right before we popped this back on. We were talking about...
Andrew Yang?
No. Oh, the presidential candidates. Yeah. How, like, once every 4 years, New Hampshire is very popular. And I imagine Iowa probably gets the same kind of treatment.
Probably a little less.
I think Yang's got the smart idea the way he's doing it, because I think he's really focusing. He's focusing on it like a business guy, So I found that was really interesting. He's like metrics and all that stuff, which is awesome. Yeah. But I think it makes a lot of sense that the focus being New Hampshire being in the primary and whatnot. But every 4 years, we get lots of presidential candidates. They come up and they're like, "Hey, how's it going?" We even got the guy with the boot on his head.
Oh yeah,
Hey, he's right from like.
Oh, nice.
Really?
Yeah.
I heard he's an awesome guy.
And I voted for him in the 2016 primary.
Good.
Yeah.
I don't blame you. I would have too.
Yeah,
Was he running Libertarian?
He was running as a Democrat.
As a Democrat, really?
Yeah, so
wow.
I had to take the Democrat ballot for that election.
That's interesting. He chose to run Democrat instead of.
But I think this time he's running Libertarian, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Which makes sense. He has a lot of those anti-policies with the toothbrush.
Yes.
For it, man.
Yeah.
I get what he's going for, man. It's a goddamn sham, politics in general. And we talked about it so much earlier, but I really, it's like, it's so frustrating for so many Americans. I think that's it's changing now because younger people are getting elected into office. You've got new people that are re-involving themselves in the political system. A call for younger voting ages and stuff like that. All of which I think are a good thing.
Well, and you see a guy like Pete Buttigieg, who's only 37. And you don't hear a lot of people saying, "What? He's only 37. Forget him." Like he's actually, people are taking him seriously.
Right.
And he's
right.
only 37. That's amazing.
I think it's good because there's that discussion of like, okay, well, yeah, we're the younger generation, but we've got a lot of bullshit to inherit.
Right.
Now with you dinosaur assholes, no offense, but a lot of the baby boomers kind of fucked the dog in a lot of ways, economically and environmentally. I love you guys, but you really, most everybody on my family, they're dead, so I got nothing to lose here. But love you guys, but you still fucking A. Hey, it happened to happen the way it did because of economic direction, war.
I mean, it's still going to be Biden in the end. So. No, I say that.
I don't know, and he really fucked himself with the Hyde amendment thing there. He's really screwed the pooch with that one. People, and this is the wrong election for that to happen, in my opinion.
That's true.
But I agree. Yeah, no, it's like it's just going to end up being Biden anyway. I'm like, I fucking hope not. I hope they learned their lesson from last time that forcing establishment candidate down everybody's throat was a wrong idea.
Right. Yeah.
Who knows though?
I'd hate to think he got those hair plugs for nothing, though. Because I'm pretty sure that's the only reason he did that. Because we don't elect bald presidents.
A watermelon soda almost went right up my nose, dude. That was awesome.
Jolly Rancher. Doesn't it taste like Jolly Rancher?
It does kind of taste like Jolly Rancher, yeah.
But yeah, seriously.
Yeah, you don't glue a bunch of doll hair to your forehead. As president, you know what I mean?
It's Cynthia from Rugrats. You know, the little freaking doll.
Fuck, dude, yeah, it really is.
Yeah. Like a bald spot's okay, but you can't be bald in the front and run for president. We don't elect, like, who's the last, Eisenhower maybe, the last bald guy we elected president?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Jesus is like, yeah.
Well, I mean, Trump is bald.
For all you all listening out there, that's the cat we're talking about. Yeah. His name's Jesus.
Yeah, it's not actual Jesus.
He came back just to tell us. In the
Stepped
form of
in,
cat.
Stepped out. We're like, holy shit.
The cat was walking on water, man. What are you guys smoking there? Nothing but life.
Yes.
Smoking life.
High on life.
Life cereal.
My whole thought with consciousness, I wanted to, we were just talking about being high on life, and it just made me think of this thing I ran into the other day. Some people received some sort of either Nobel Peace Prize or something for discovering that people are manifesting reality with their own consciousnesses, that we're manifesting this reality as we move through it. Mm-hmm. That's pretty mind-blowing to think that you really are manifesting everything that is in front of you. How do you really break that down, like from a scientific standpoint? That's what they're saying. And I read this thing. I really, before bringing it up, I should have had this kind of in front of me, but it just popped in my head now randomly. I was thinking, so what's that mean exactly? That's saying that, that really it's us manipulating this phase space that we live in that's creating conscious reality in front of us. What's that say for all of our individual realities?
Well, you do that anyway, though, right? Like with every decision you make and everything that you do.
Pretty much.
You're manipulating your own reality.
Right, but the discussion is, so are we all living in this simultaneous reality, or do we all have our own individual parallel realities that exist individually of each other? Yeah, but is it like all of us in one dimension individually, or are we all individually manifesting our own realities parallel to each other? Or maybe nothing like that at all. And I misinterpreted what they were saying.
Whew.
I have wondered if
smoke too much ganj.
Maybe in another universe there's an evil version of me with no facial hair named Cat Connerton. I have wondered that.
Dude, like Brightburn, the new Superman. Have you seen the preview for that movie?
No, I haven't.
So check this out. Back, I think in the 90s, they made a comic concept. I think it was in the 90s. Maybe I'm wrong about that too. Who knows? We'll find out. We'll let the listeners figure that shit out. You guys can do all my bibliography work for me. Thanks. There was a comic book released in which they're doing like the Infinite Earths thing with DC. Had multiple.
Yes.
different Supermans and, like Bizarro and all that.
I remember that. Yeah.
So I think Brightburn was just this alternate reality in which Clark Kent wasn't Clark Kent, but a different, basically him, but a evil.
Okay.
And he lands here and he's just filled with malice.
Yeah.
He just wants to kill everything, basically.
Yeah.
As soon as puberty hits and he starts discovering his powers, he decides he's going to kill shit.
Yeah.
So James Gunn just directed the adaptation of that to screen, and has Liz. Oh gosh, what's her name? She did the voice. I'm pretty sure she did the voice of. I can't remember the girl character in Lego Movie because
I don't know. Either.
well.
Not
Anyway,
well.
the person who does the voice, I think, for her is the one that played in that movie. Anyway, good. And then Pam's first husband from The Office, Roy.
Oh, right.
Yeah, Roy. He's Clark Kent's dad.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Or the evil version. Anyway, it's really a very twisted horror kind of approach to Superman genre, which I thought was very cool that they were doing that justice in the way that they're treating it like a horror film instead of a Superman kind of super horror, or it was interesting.
Yeah.
So movies, what kind of movies do you? Let's discuss movies. Music. I'm going all out.
I have not kept up with as far as.
Or even old movies. Any preferences, or are you into specific types of movies?
I don't think I'm really into specific types. I mean, my favorite movie of all time is This Is Spinal Tap.
Oh, dude, awesome!
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah, Justin knows for sure,
Yeah.
dude. So do you like? I'm big into, I don't really like any type of genres either. I just like movies in general.
Yeah,
Just big on, culture, pop culture in general. I really like a lot of bad movies, though. That's something
Really?
I'm a big fan of, is real garbage movies that just had zero talent and effort put into them.
Yeah.
And it's like, who made this trash fire? But really fucking loved it.
Niceness.
Like, they, not only did they put everything they were into this fucking piece of shit, but they loved it like it was their own. It was their own.
You
And
must
that's,
love The
I
Room.
love that. Appreciate. What's that?
You must love The Room.
So I have never. It's funny you said that. I want to see this movie because I've never seen it, and I heard it's really. And I've heard a lot about Wiseau or what is his name, Tommy Wiseau. Yeah, I've heard a lot about it. Only from the internet. I've never watched it. So I'd be really interested because I've heard it's just really bad. Well, I'm not saying it's bad. It's its own cult.
Yeah,
thing.
I mean it is bad.
It's bad, but that's what it's known for.
But a lot of people refer to it as the worst movie ever made.
That's awesome.
I don't know that it literally is,
But that's its own thing, you know.
Yeah.
That's.
I got a lot of trauma films.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Right in the VHS collection there.
Yes.
Tons.
So that's another golden thing there. My thing with movies that really
Lynch.
bothers me now is that a lot of movies have gone the direction of only focusing on like just initial turnover of the first box office weekend. So it's all become marketing aspect, and that's it. And then the art has just gone out the window. When you can successfully do both.
Right.
Inception's a good example of doing both. The Dark Knight trilogy, love it or hate it, good example of doing both. Whether if you don't like it, still you have to admit that it wasn't just a slop movie, that somebody put time and effort into that movie, even if you think it was bad effort. It was still time and effort, and also had that artistic perspective and a superhero movie. Yeah. So it can be done. And I would say even Endgame and Infinity War, for me, being mega nerd, Disney Corp, you can have my entire fucking wallet forever, I guess, now, because you bought everything from my childhood and just are selling it right back to me.
Right. Yes.
But I'm buying it. Absolutely. So I saw both of those, thought they were great too, but cinematically they are still flashbang explosion superhero movies. I could still have the logic to see them as they are. I still respect them because they're a culmination of multiple movies, but if it wasn't for that, I don't think that they would be nearly as substantial as movies as they are. You know what I mean? I think that, totally. It's certainly not Schindler's List, but it's its own feat as cinematic. masterpiece in its own way.
But are they disposable in the sense that like do you ever rewatch films like that, or do you see them once and then
So
just kinda take
certain
them
things, Avengers and the whole MCU thing, absolutely. I'll watch those movies over and over because I really dig them a lot, and they really embody a lot of what I wanted from my childhood to be in those movies. Everything I expected live action movies to be for MCU is what they turned close enough. I'm happy with it.
Yeah.
So it's a oops, I hit my microphone there. It's a nostalgia thing.
Yeah.
That's all it is. I just a big comic book nerd that really wanted to see it embodied in a full CGI, and I don't care if it's green screens the whole way because I just want to see it, embodied with live actors, just as a little kid probably does now. I'm still that little kid, and that's great because I have a 8-year-old that I can just vicariously live through. I guess
right.
he
There you
loves
go.
it, so it's great. We get to totally jam out to that stuff. It's fun. The thing that I can't say is that I can go and say, oh, well, that is just cinematic masterpiece. So I do think so about Endgame in a lot of ways because of what they did. There's no plot holes through any of those
Really?
movies. They actually have
I've
pretty
haven't seen it.
perfect intertwine of all of the movies. So again, very much a lot of respect there. But for me, it's more so that they're superhero movies.
Right.
There's only so much you can really get out of those specific superhero movies because it was also about big box office weekends.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I mean, and I'd say that it's really kind of opened the way for a lot of different different genres like that to kind of appear, where people can take chances, like Deadpool. Just really unique in that category that they can make something ridiculous and also comic book, but just make it work.
I need to update myself on all of this.
Oh, dude, it's so
there's so much. I feel so lucky to be able to.
Everything
I haven't seen this, so
right on
the
internet.
I got like months worth of things to catch up on.
yeah, for sure.
I'm way behind. Yeah.
What about Game of Thrones?
I've never seen a single episode.
Oh my
I've
goodness.
seen one. That's
Do you like
it.
fantasy
Really?
stuff at all?
Yeah.
Not really.
So then
Although
it
everyone
probably
tells me-
wouldn't be. I don't know.
Everyone tells me I'd like it.
Okay, so you might, because I'm not huge into fantasy, but I
Yeah.
do like some things of fantasy.
Yeah.
I like the Lord of the Rings because I read the books when I was younger, and that's
Yeah.
what I guess made me like the sit through like the 15 hours that was those 3 damn movies.
Right,
15
right.
hours of walking.
Yeah. When I was a kid, my mother's third husband, she's on her 4th marriage now, by the way. Her third husband gave me a copy of, it was Tolkien, but it was, I can't remember now which book. What was the first one? The Hobbit.
The Hobbit.
That
Yep.
everyone reads.
Yep.
And I just couldn't get into it. He thought I'd
So,
like it, but I couldn't get into
I
it.
agree. I actually, the first one I read wasn't The Hobbit, and even though they did a play, I felt like because the play was done at school, I could skip over it.
Oh.
Because I just all right, I had to, follow the play loosely because it was in school and stuff, and I ended up watching the thing, and I'm like, well, sweet, I can just bless him. Then I went right into the Fellowship, which I dove right into, and I loved it from the beginning of it. But I was a little lost because there were some things that I didn't understand because I didn't read that, and just because I was, I skipped over a lot of stuff, which is why I really, I mean, I have ADD, and I've always had an issue with like reading an entire page of something and then having to read it again and again and again and not having it fully set in. So audiobooks are very, very effective for me to absorb things. It's a little bit easier for me to kind of grasp things and retain it, and you don't miss any of the words from speed reading accidentally, any of that stuff. And then you get a good enough narrator too. It's pretty cool.
Oh yeah.
So I've been digging in a lot with authors in that aspect too. Not a tangent, but that's what we do here. Do you any fans of any specific reading material or any authors that you have a?
Yeah, I like I read a lot of political stuff.
Okay. So less fiction, more. I have a friend of mine who's very specific about almost no fiction at all. He only does nonfiction. I kind of mix it up a little bit, but I'm
kind of at that point too. Actually, yeah.
Did you read the War on Normal People?
No.
Check it out on if you get a chance. That's Yang's book there. Excellent read. I'm at right at the end of it right now.
Is it on the Audible?
On the Audible. Yep.
Okay, right on. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. So I'll have to.
Yeah, he's using my Audible thing. I'm like,
Yeah.
dude, check it out, a whole library of stuff on there.
So give me your phone.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. There it is. Listen.
Well, it's just like, dude, this is so much. I mean, I've been really big on digging into Richard Chismar lately. Who's another person we might have on the show, either by phone or here. I mean, he I don't know that you can necessarily make it here to the area right away, but he was talking about that. So I'm trying to figure out the VoIP side of things, the voice IP.
Oh, yes.
Or if he does come up to this area, then we might be able to do that. But he's a writer.
He is. I was going to say that. I've heard the name, but
he co-wrote something with Stephen King. Actually, it was a short story, and that's how I had actually come across him initially. That, and I was looking for short story authors, and he had popped up as a first recommendation because I was like, good short story authors, because I really like short story format.
Yeah.
So I started digging into his stuff and just read Heroes this morning on one of his. I forget the compilation, the name of the compilation, because I got a couple of them, but really, really good. The name of the one I'm reading right now is Heroes.
Have you read a lot of Stephen King?
I have. Yep. Yeah. I have. I binged a good amount of it when I was working at Barron's, the commute there. It was about an hour, so I absolutely, was digging in big time with that. But I had also read a lot when I was younger. But going back and rereading with audiobook, there's so much stuff that I missed. Yeah. So now I'm done the audiobook.
You're like, dude, you need to read for.
I told Justin.
I've seen the movies. I've never read anything, and I've been writing a little bit here and there. Back into writing, it's weird.
He writes some really good stuff, and he had no idea that I was like, dude, this is really good descriptive quality stuff. I'm like, did you ever show this to anybody or anything? He's like, no. I'm like, you should. So that's where we're at right now, ladies and gentlemen.
Trying.
Our buddy Justin / Tigo, he can write. Can write stuff, and he didn't even know. It's stream of consciousness style writing, kind of like King. Yeah. Very similar, and that's what caught my interest, because I listened to a lot of that, and I'm like, this is very similar to the style of writing. And I'm like, have you ever read anything by Stephen? He's like, no, I've never read anything. I've only watched movies. And I'm like, dude, listen to this short story. And I forget which one it was.
The first one, when the guy was golfing, I think he got bit by something.
Oh, yeah. That's the one where he's in
Start me up, and they're about to cut him open.
Yeah, dude,
why am I still alive, but I can't feel anything.
Operating Room 101, I think. I forget. It's a short story. Okay. But I showed him a couple of those, and he was just like, dude, wow. I mean,
I was like, okay, I need to really assess, how I'm writing.
I mean, aside from normal things like grammatical errors and editing stuff that I would obviously run into also, and I think anybody, when you're trying to write stuff down quickly, I'm like, dude,
hearing that was like, ooh, I need to really, really step it up.
Stephen King, though, he does go on. See, I read a lot of Stephen King growing up, and I kind of fell out of it, but the books just kept getting bigger. Like, it is just like I never read it.
It's an amazing story. It's the one thing that I will say, out of everything he's ever written, if you've read a lot of it, The Stand or anything like that, it's the one that you want to read. Really? It really is absolutely amazing. It was life-changing, I'll even say.
Really?
Because I read it, but I don't know how much of it I actually got, because it was so big, and it was so long ago, and I was an ADHD teen, how much did I really absorb? And I go back and read them. There was a lot that I missed. A lot that I didn't realize, like some really intense scenes, just visual scenes that you just can't quite shake. Think about it now.
I've always heard it's excellent. I just remember being intimidated by it. It's like, oh, should I read that or War and Peace over here, which is gigantic?
For sure, but, which is more beneficial to the.
Well,
I agree totally. I struggle with that all the time.
What's the book? I'm trying to remember now because he does go off on tangents, and some of them are nuts. Like there's a book. It might be Thinner, where he starts talking about Chernobyl and all these cities in Russia that disappeared, and they think there were these nuclear disasters. A whole series of them that
It
wiped out these...
might be Thinner because I haven't read Thinner.
I think it
That's a
Thinner.
Bachman novel, technically,
Yes,
right?
yes,
Yep.
Richard Bachman. And there's a whole, for this whole chapter, he goes into this other thing, which is actually very interesting, but it has nothing to do with the story.
Right,
It's
right.
kind of weird, but it's kind of cool.
You gotta wonder if it's one of those
check
cocaine
that
moments
out.
for him.
Yeah.
Because I will say it is one of those books that I'm
Who's this
assuming
again?
had Stephen King.
I mean, what's the other guy's name?
Richard Bachman.
Richard
Okay,
Bachman. Oh,
gotcha.
so that was his pseudonym.
Yeah.
He
Okay.
wrote under Bachman for what you just said, Thinner.
Yeah.
His name's Stephen King.
The Regulators, Long Walk. Another one he wrote under. Oh my goodness, can't remember all of them, but there's a couple of them. And my favorite, probably out of those that I've read, was I don't know. And the Road Work, I think, was another one. Or that might have been him. Was the Long Walk. Long Walk was awesome. I really liked the Long Walk. But also Regulators. Stuff. Regulators is really good too, which is a mirror novel of desperation. They exist in parallel universes at the same time, kind of. Really good. Totally worth it. But all tying into the Dark Tower. So really everything he's ever written, somehow, in some way, is a Dark Tower tie-in, which is what got me into them, because I started in sci-fi. And then started reading Gunslinger, and I'm just like, whoa. And it just, that was one of the first things I ever read. And I did read those through books first. And then when I went back again, same thing. Now I've done it 5 times, read the Dark Tower series.
Oh, wow.
And they're long as shit.
Yeah.
But I couldn't say read. Technically, it's listening,
Well,
you know. But for me, it's you know, the way I look at it is really, it's a disability in a lot of ways, because I could listen to something 1,000 times and really get it. I mean, read something 1,000 times and not get it, and then, you know, listen to it, and I could just absorb a lot of it.
Yeah.
Because I could read it over and over, the whole page.
Huh.
Nothing sits.
Yeah.
It's not fun.
Yeah.
Especially trying to learn something, you know, instructions.
Does it?
Yeah.
Do you ever find it helpful? This might sound like a very odd question, but do you ever find ADD helpful? There's a specific reason I ask, because my friend Dr.
For
Kevin,
sure.
he's written books
Actually.
about ADD. Like, he has a book called Managing the Gift,
Okay.
and it's about how ADD. It's not. He argues it's not a disability. It can actually be an advantage if you know how to harness it and use it.
Absolutely. I would say that in working in kitchens, for example, was one thing where I was able to, because my sporadic attention allowed me to keep attention on a bunch of different things easier. But
Absolutely.
just in really high-paced environments, it's busy. I've got to be doing a ton of different things, because it keeps my brain so stimulated that I don't get bored with any specific thing.
Interesting.
So I've always had a hard time with jobs that require a lot of repetition, but it really will working in a kitchen. Anything that required like a lot of okay, the nachos, and I've got to do this, and as long as I'm applying myself, i.e. ripping a ton of fucking marijuana before going into it, because I did used to smoke a ton of weed before I worked in that, and I was really good. But when I didn't smoke, I wasn't so good. So it was this downside. But I do find that marijuana has always helped me concentrate a little bit more with the hyper concentration. It's weird, because it is that kind of hyper concentration, but it balances out enough that I can utilize it to my advantage. So, i.e. what you're talking about. Maybe not necessarily as much without the cannabis, but I could still find myself in a circumstance where, no, I mean, there was plenty of times where I did it on, worked on cold end at the 99 restaurant. Sorry, 99.
Oh, 99.
I was stoned on marijuana in your business. Hope you don't come after me now.
Well,
They're
Just kidding.
They're great.
There
They're
goes
great.
that sponsorship.
cool.
Yep, there goes 99.
You're doing a good job.
99 people, whatever the song was. They changed it 4 times when I was with the friggin' company. I won a contest though, making a dish for them. And they had this stupid little cooking contest that I won.
Oh wow.
Booyah.
Damn.
I'll take that forever as a win.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
It was good. It was fun. That was the second one.
I remember,
That's the second one.
I remember
dude,
I
or the
called
first
out.
one.
I was like calling out, and
You had to listen to that thing.
99.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
and I just fucking.
You're like,
hung up
nobody's
and I didn't
actually
show
happy.
up.
You're just like, fuck this.
I think I was like 22. No, that was like 23.
Responsible people here.
That
And
song made you no show.
yeah, just like you're just like, fuck this. I'm out.
I would have. I sat through like 4 minutes of it, And I was just like,
That's great.
"No, they're not. It's always a good place to be," or fucking whatever the fuck it was. I was like, "Oh, good for you. This is great."
Yeah. Well,
I went
see,
and
the
took a
thing
shower
is,
and
though,
fucking went to the beach.
the trick was there's this major drug guy. I'm not. Yeah, he was a heroin addict. Dude was a heavy drug user. But he told me, he's like, dude, you know, smoke, you go in the walk-in. In the refrigerator is into the freezer, idiot. If I could go to the freezer, you fucking moron. Go in there, and he's like, you carve out an apple, and I'm just, what the fuck, dude? He's ripping apples, and then yeah, that's what it was happening. That was how. And I go and I work in the dish pit, and I'd crank out some stuff, and I've never seen so much goddamn fried chicken in my life working in that place.
Ooh.
Yeah.
80 pounds in a night, no problem. 80 pounds of raw chicken into the breader, into the fryer, onto plates, into people's stomachs. Ugh. Made you really disgusted with that food real fast.
I bet.
Hey, and I'm a vegetarian now. What are the odds?
Wow.
I don't know. How did that happen? Might be working in the food industry long enough. Makes you want to throw up.
Yeah,
Just food in general, man.
it's pretty wild.
They were pretty sanitary there. I'll give them that. I've seen a lot of businesses that weren't. They were actually pretty good. They're fast food restaurants usually, as long as they're not franchise owned, usually all right.
Yeah.
My experience in the food industry.
Yeah.
A little bit of knowledge to take with you folks. If it's a franchise, spit it back in the garbage. Just kidding. Just kidding.
Taste it.
For anybody out there that has a franchise,
out.
sorry. I don't really care, actually. Well, I think that we've had a lot of misdirected conversation for tonight. We want to go ahead and thank Matt for coming on today.
Yes, thank you, man.
We'd
Thanks
like
for-
to do this
thanks
again,
for-
man. This is really awesome having you come on and chat with us about the world, the universe, and everything.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys.
Thank
for
you
having
guys.
me. This
No,
has been a lot of
not a
fun.
this has
problem.
been great. And honestly, my thought is every now and then, like every say quarter, every couple of months, maybe we could get together and do this.
Yes,
It'd be a good
indeed.
thing.
That
It'd
would
be awesome.
That would be
Absolutely.
great.
Thank you again, and you guys, thank you for listening. We'll be back again here soon. Keep your ears open. Bye.